WSAV News 3 on your side, your local election headquarters, presents this Savannah Municipal Election Candidate Forum. Now, here's your host, Tina Tyashaw.
Welcome back, everyone, to today's Candidates Forum, featuring the candidates for Alderman at-Large posts 1 and 2. We have completed one of our forums, and now it is time for the second portion of this forum here at the Savannah Convention Center. I'm WSAV News 3's Tina Tyashaw, and this forum is brought to you by the Tourism Leadership Council, the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, and also the Downtown Business Association and WSAV News 3 on your side. We want to welcome the 7 candidates, yes, you heard me right, 7 candidates for at-large post 1. And they are Carol Bell, Jason Leslie Combs, Roshida Edwards, Curtis Singleton, Marc Anthony Smith, Tony Thomas, and Clinton Young. Those are your candidates for the upcoming election happening on November 7th, and this is for the Alderman at-Large post 1. Candidates, you will have up to 1 minute to introduce yourselves by way of opening statement, and we will begin in alphabetical order. That means, Carol Bell, we will begin with you. You're up, ma'am. Get started.
First, let me thank the Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Leadership Council, and the Downtown Business Association for hosting this very important event. Everybody deserves to feel safe and be free from crime. Everyone deserves to provide for their families, and everyone needs a roof over their head. I'm running for council because I want to join the team of elected leaders who are working to improve this city. I want to make sure that the next council focus on keeping our city safe and free from crime by making sure that we have well-trained and a consistent, fully staffed police department, that all of our citizens have opportunities and are well prepared to take advantage.
Thank you. Up next, Jason Leslie Combs.
Hello, my name is Jason Leslie Combs. I am currently the president of the Thomas Square Neighborhood Association. We are sometimes better known as Starland. And yes, I'm also that guy that initiated the process of extending the hotel development overlay through Thomas Square, Victorian District, and College Brownsville. And I know that 3 of the groups sponsoring this event signed an opposition letter to that. So I hope that doesn't make things awkward. But I would like to say here now that I actually bring a message of hope from Starland, that we are accepting of change and growth, and it has made Starland better. And Savannah has a lot of growth and change coming. So look at Starland and see that that's not always bad, it can be good. That growth has brought us more cultural vitality, more economic activity, and more political clout as we've added people. We've added hundreds of housing units and dozens of new businesses. And I haven't done that all myself, that's been many hands. But please elect me to council, and I'll help do that for all of Savannah with the growth and change we have coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Roshida Edwards.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Roshida Edwards, and I'm a 39-year resident of the city of Savannah by way of the West Side. I'm the mother of 1. I'm the daughter of Pastor and First Lady Sis Carol and Sandra Edwards. And I'm also the owner of Vintage Special Event Center, which is located in the 1st District. We are a wedding and concert venue. I'm running for office because I want to be a part of creating policy that will move our city forward fairly and responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Curtis Singleton.
I am Curtis Singleton, post 1 Alderman at-Large candidate. I use my legal and mediation skills for restorative purposes and restorative practice in our communities. Post 1 candidate should be flexible, independent, collaborative, knowledgeable, and transparent in order to build our communities. Bringing peace to bring peace in our community, we must balance the growth with our communities. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and I'm a mediator, and I'm a peacemaker. And I'm also a native of Savannah, her schools, and SSU. And I thank you so much. I'm a graduate of Middlebury College, University of Georgia. How about them dogs? And I thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Up next, Marc Anthony Smith.
Good morning. First, I'd like to thank the Tourism Council, Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Neighborhood Association for hosting this forum this morning. I'm born, raised here in Savannah. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran by way of Barstow, a carrier, as well as a sub, where I served in Kings Bay, Georgia. I'm a graduate of Savannah State University, political science major, history minor. I'm an educator, teaching at Raleigh Learning Center School for Designated Felons. I'm a law enforcement officer, having served with Savannah Metropolitan Chatham County Police Department, then transferring back to Board of Education as a police officer. I'm a pastor at Faith Missionary Baptist Church, and I have to include this because my daughter wouldn't have it any other way. I'm a father. My daughter's attending.
And up next, Tony Thomas.
Good morning. I'm Tony Thomas. I am a lifelong resident of the city of Savannah. I represented the 6th District of Savannah for 20 years. Lost in the last election. 2019, it's hard to believe that it's been that long. But I am running again because I believe that we have slipped. And I believe there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. There's a lot that needs to be looked at and a lot that needs to be accomplished over the course of the next 4 years, 8 years. I do think that this city is a wonderful and fantastic city. You can see it from the millions of people that come here every year. I know that the entities in this room are very much attuned to that and attached to those industries, and I look forward to working with you in the years ahead.
Okay, next we have Clinton Young.
Good afternoon, and for the 7th time, I'm Clinton Young, champion for the people. My concerns are safety. We are living in an era where open air gunfire is a commonplace, where women are being shot carrying babies in this city. And by a trilateral effect, we have all 3 phases of a shortage, from Savannah Police Department, the county, and Sheriff Welch's department, Sheriff Department, 150 deficit. We are in critical times. We need a joint collaboration of forces. And I've been preaching this for the last 16 years. We need a 10 p.m. curfew. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? We also need prime time foot patrol. In this deficit state, we need a...
Candidates, thank you for your opening statements. And now it is time for us to begin with the topics of the morning. Those topics will be drawn from the hopper that you see here on the table. And we will go in alphabetical order. Each candidate will have 1 minute. However, for rebuttal, 1 minute for your question. Rebuttal, candidates, you will have 30 seconds. So please remember that in the interest of time, we want to make sure that you stick to the topics, please, because we have our viewers on WSAV.com watching you live, and we have a live audience here today at the Convention Center. These voters want to know where you stand on the issues, so please do stick to your time. And we are going to go ahead and begin with our first question. And this question is for Carol Bell. You have 1 minute. And it's more of a statement, not a question. And your thoughts on recidivism in Savannah. 1 minute.
The city is compelled almost to make sure that our returning citizens are equipped to perform, to start new lives, or to continue their productive old lives. So the city can work with other agencies, particularly agencies that provide job skills, teach job skills, and provide apprenticeship or programs that can enable them to rejoin the workforce and become valuable, contributing citizens in our community.
We will continue now with rebuttal. Candidates, you will have 30 seconds. Jason Leslie Combs.
Yes. I'd like to speak to this question by talking about how I would approach problems like this. This is not a problem that is unique to Savannah. This is a problem all over the United States. I would approach this like I did with problems in grad school, where I went to Georgia Tech and got master's degrees in city planning and urban design. I would go and look at case studies. I would look at examples of other cities. It's been done before. There's nothing new under the sun. Go out and look for the best ideas, bring them back to Savannah, and implement them.
Next, Roshida Edwards. Your 30 seconds starts now.
I would like to approach this by asking, how did we get here? We can't talk about this topic without looking at how we got to that point. And unfortunately, it goes back to poverty and a lack of services in certain areas. We have to start with focusing on getting our citizens, our children, the services that they need, especially in low poverty areas. That's where we work on this problem at, the foundation, which is poverty and lack of service. Thank you.
Curtis Singleton.
For women, wives, and families, raising boys to men for education instead of incarceration is the answer for recidivism. And within restorative justice, that's what we do. We work with the youth, we work to keep them out of jail, we work to eliminate their records, and in the community, we mediate those processes with the juvenile court to reduce recidivism, and we have a low recidivism rate with the mediation system.
Marc Anthony Smith.
Yes, ma'am. Recidivism, something we dealt with when I was at the part of Metro. We had what is called Citizen Circle, in which we formed up with different actors to help those that were leaving prison to come in. They needed a suit, they needed to get driver's license, Social Security, helping them to get the things that they needed so they wouldn't go back to the life of crime.
Tony Thomas.
As individuals exit the state prison system, they're allowed to go where they want to in the state of Georgia. The #1 destination for people getting out of the state of Georgia prisons is the city of Savannah. When those folks come here and get off the bus with hardly any money and no skills in many cases, they get into a transitional living situation, which really does not offer them much coaching, doesn't give them an opportunity to get out of that, and it's something that we're going to have to work and improve with state leaders.
And Clinton Young.
Recidivism, that's habitual violators, and they're capitalizing on the deficit of the Savannah Police Department. We need to stamp down on it and check out the historical data where all this action is happening. District 1, District 2, District 3, and District 5. Since I was a chaplain, we need to be tough on crime. And that's why I said we need to collaborate the forces together in this time of deficit.
Candidates, the next topic of discussion, parking downtown. We begin with Jason Leslie Combs. You have 1 minute.
Oh boy, you had to give me parking. Wow. As president of Thomas Square, I have had to deal with parking over and over and over every time a new business tries to open or a new development tries to get going, whether it be housing or whatever. People always want more parking. We don't need that much parking. I've heard the same arguments over and over, and we've helped the businesses open without it, and afterwards it's never been a problem. We've got to get over our obsession with parking. A great book for everyone to read is called Paved Paradise. It just came out a little while ago. It talks about this. Parking has had such an insidious effect on all of our development, pushing everything to spread it out, having parking lots that don't pay property taxes back into the system, forcing everyone to drive when maybe otherwise they might not need a car. We need more compact, dense development like we have downtown, which is why Savannah is so popular. And we need to stop sprawling out and having everybody be in a car, and that's why we need parking. We need to do dense, we need to do compact, we need to do traditional Savannah more.
The remaining candidates, you will have 30 seconds rebuttal. Roshida Edwards.
Well, I think we all know that parking is an issue in downtown Savannah. and there's no easy fix for that. I would love to see our city start looking towards maybe another underground garage, but we also have to focus on managing our growth. With all the growth that we've had right now, we're not managing it properly, and that is added to our parking issues. So I would love to see us start looking forward to some underground garages.
Curtis Singleton.
Visualizing parking as an issue in Savannah, due to it being a planned city, is I guess an extreme thing. But I think two issues. One, a parking garage, potentially, maybe even a civic center. And of course, to me, the largest invisible issue is disabled parking. We don't conform to federal requirements for disabled parking, 1 in 20 spaces. Thank you.
Marc Anthony Smith.
We have a problem with downtown parking because we don't visualize the future. We need to treat downtown as though it's Disney World and create parking further south side and bring our guests into downtown as does Disney World with the monorail. We need to take most of our businesses, court, whatever, move it from downtown and keep downtown just for tourism.
Tony Thomas.
Well, for 20 years, I didn't have to worry about it because I had a parking pass. And the last 4 years, it's been quite a challenge in seeing what the problems are with parking. I will tell you that I think the gentleman right here struck on something. I think that we need to look at the T-SPLOST and examine the viability of streetcars and light rail. There's an advantage and an economic advantage to doing that, and I think that that would be one of the things that we need to look at.
And Clinton Young.
Yes. My suggestion, go ahead and demolish the old Civic Center and let's go 6 stories up, and that'll remedy some of the downtown parking.
Carol Bell, your thoughts?
Nothing new. I would also suggest that we possibly investigate instituting parking on the perimeters of the city or further out from downtown and allowing people to take public transportation into town.
Now, this next topic is relationships with state government agencies and officials. We will begin with you, Roshida Edwards. You have 1 minute.
The village. We need to get back to working with other entities so that we can provide the best services for not only our city, but our state. That's a very simple topic to talk about. We can't do it alone. We need other entities to work together. And unfortunately, we haven't been as successful in that area as I would like to see. So I look forward to working with outside entities in hopes of creating a better Savannah and a better state of Georgia.
Remaining candidates, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal on this topic. And we'll start on that 30-second mark with Curtis Singleton.
The Georgia Legislative Black Caucus recently visited Savannah for their annual meeting, and of course everyone wants to come to Savannah. I worked with the state legislature for 9 years as a senior policy analyst too, and I was a special assistant to Lieutenant Governor Zell Miller. So I'm very familiar with state agencies, how they're structured. I staff the judiciary, rules and higher education committee. And so I firmly believe in those.
Up next, Marc Anthony Smith.
Yes, we need a better relationship with our state legislature. We are known as the State Academy down here, and we need to reach out to these agencies to get better resources here in Savannah.
And Tony Thomas.
I believe that we need to keep the ties close with state agencies and the state leadership. I think that we need to have more interaction with them than we normally do. There's usually a one cattle call a year on the city council to voice issues. I think it needs to be a quarterly event for the legislators. And I do think we need a stronger relationship with the county. The city can't really do a lot of things if it doesn't have the county working with us hand in hand.
Clinton Young, your thoughts?
Yes. I believe that we should continue a strong relationship with the guys in Atlanta, but I do agree with Tony. We need to collaborate more with the county. I'm for a merger. Actually, that would settle a lot of our problem. We need to merge all forces together.
Carol Bell, your thoughts?
Having served on city council for 2 terms under 2 administrators, one of them being former Mayor Edna Jackson, I've had the privilege of learning how important it is for the city to collaborate with not only the state agencies, but also with local agencies, including the county, the school district, and many others. So I would say continue that.
And Jason Leslie Combs.
In Starland and neighboring neighborhoods, we've been dealing for the past few years with trying to get a quiet zone implemented. And that has been a real lesson in collaboration, because that has involved the neighborhoods, the city government. I want to give a shout out to Joe Shearhouse for his work on this, talking to state agencies, GDOT, and the state itself, and even the federal government. Most people don't know this, but most train regulation is at the federal level, and you've got to deal with them. And so, yes, I've dealt with the things at all levels.
Now for the next topic, the Savannah Fire Department. We begin with Curtis Singleton, and you have 1 minute for response.
Well, I think that with the fire department, a big deal were the fire taxes, and of course we've worked somewhat through that. And government provides three functions: peace, public service delivery, and protection. And the fire department falls within that range of protective services. And that's why we have a city manager, and that's why we have a city attorney, and that's why we have a city clerk, to make sure that all of those services are delivered in a prompt, functional way. Now, with that said, we've had various issues with the county and providing those public services, and I think we do need to look at that from a visionary aspect, because with the growth that's coming to Savannah, especially with the completion of this convention center, there'll be others that will want to move here, and we really need to look at police.
Now, candidates, your 30-second rebuttals will begin with you, Mr. Marc Anthony Smith.
Yes, Savannah Fire Department, members of the fire department would like to see their union recognized so that they can have a little bit more say in their activities. As a former member of the union with the Savannah Federation of Teachers, I think it's very vital that we give them a voice as well. Thank you.
Tony Thomas.
I think we have a world-class fire department. I think we have some of the most highly and best trained personnel that you can find in the region. As for departments, I think that we shouldn't strive to be the best compared to someone else. We should be the best and let everyone else compare it to us. And I think that many times we fall into the trap of that. So I believe that the fire department is going to need additional resources and services for the future as we grow.
Clinton Young.
I commend our fire department, and I hope we expand with the expansion coming in the next special local office and sales tax. We will need to build more fire departments, and I hope that we would include that into the budget.
Carol Bell.
Let me commend the current fire department, and I would say that we should continue to improve opportunities for attracting and retaining the best firemen that we can attract, and to maintain the status that we've achieved.
Jason Leslie Combs.
It's going to be very hard to keep funding our fire department if we keep growing Savannah like we have been with these sprawling suburbs that go out into the far reaches of the county. When you have compact traditional development, it makes it very easy to service large amounts of people with one station. When you let that single-family home, quarter-acre lot development go on and on and on, you have to keep building more and more stations to service all those areas. Again, one more reason why sprawl is bad and why traditional compact development is good, and Savannah needs to grow within its own footprint and quit annexing all this virgin land.
Roshida Edwards.
What can I say? We have the best fire department, and it's one of the best departments in the city of Savannah. Thank you.
Now, candidates, the next topic is about historic preservation. And we will begin this topic with Marc Anthony Smith. This is my writing here. So this is historic preservation. You have 1 minute, sir.
Yes, ma'am. 1733 General Oglethorpe came right here and established Savannah, Georgia, as well as giving us the 33 beautiful squares that we have. In 1864, our illustrious mayor, Richard Arnold, protected the city by opening the city and giving it to Lincoln as a gift. In 1956, the Magnificent Seven came together to save the Davenport House, which started the historic Savannah Foundation. That has been the basis of our success here in this area for many years. But we're about to destroy all that the Magnificent Seven has done if we don't get a grip on our development here. We're about to lose our historic.
Tony Thomas.
Well, talking about preservation, I would ask you in this room, do you think we're preserving the city of Savannah right now? I mean, a city council is 9 individuals elected amongst the citizenry, and those 9 individuals are the architects of Savannah's past 100 years from now. What legacy will we be leaving if you look at the construction that is going on today? I even doubt some of the buildings that we're building today will last 100 years. I think that this could be a topic.
We move on now to Clinton Young.
I commend the job by the Historical Preservation. I also commend SCAD. They single-handedly have brought urban renewal to Savannah, and I commend them for that.
Carol Bell, your thoughts?
Well, we should be very proud of how we have maintained the history of the historic structures in the cities, particularly in downtown Savannah. I think we have to be very careful, as some of my colleagues have stated, and make sure that the growth and development doesn't taint and take anything away from what we have achieved and what our tourists come to Savannah to see.
Jason Leslie Combs.
Yes, of course Savannah is what it is because of its history and the preservation of that history. I would like to commend the HSF for the things they've done and the recent announcement that they are going to be involved in the preservation of the Kia House, finally, in Kyle Brownville. But at the same time, preservation often gets in the way of new development that we desperately need to address affordability. It has to be a trade-off. You can't make affordable housing that looks like a Victorian mansion. You've got to allow contemporary architecture and design.
Roshida Edwards.
Yes, I would like to commend the Historic Preservation team for all of their work. Maintaining our history is important. With all of the growth and change that is happening and coming, it's important for us to preserve where we've been so that we know where we're going.
And Curtis Singleton.
Historic preservation is the successful vehicle for Savannah. However, there is another aspect of that, and that is culture. And the Gullah Geechee culture and the African American culture in Savannah merits just as much attention as the buildings. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We are moving on now to our next topic, the Metropolitan Planning Commission. Tony Thomas, we'll begin with you. You have 1 minute.
The MPC, Metropolitan Planning Commission, serves a vital role in this community. It's a collaborative with other governments that we put together to fund and do our zoning, do the things that line out to preserve historic preservation to it, in a sense. But I do think that with that, there's too much politics in the MPC. I think there's too many decisions that are being made that are made on the basis of political opinion, and I also think that there's too many decisions that are being made based on the winds of change or the winds of the politics that are currently in place. I do think that they do a good job. I served for many years with Jimmy Blackburn, who wrote most of the zoning for the city of Savannah that helped us preserve what we have today. But I think we need to go back and look at things like the tricentennial plan that's coming along in just 10 years from now. We'll be 300 years old.
Candidates, your 30-second rebuttals begin now. Clinton Young?
Yes. The Metropolitan Planning Commission is doing a great job, and we will need them as the projected growth of the next 20 years is 30 to 40,000 people. We're going to need wise counsel at zoning. So they're doing a good job, and I'm in favor of them.
Carol Bell?
I think the MPC plays a vital role in not only protecting, controlling, really, zoning as it regulates growth and development, not only in the city of Savannah, but for the entire community in the entire county.
Jason Leslie Combs, your thoughts?
Yes, as I mentioned before, I have master's degrees from Georgia Tech in city planning and urban design. I have worked many times with that background with NPC and with the city planning. It's been mentioned before that we're doing planning at both the city level and the NPC, and there's a little bit of confusion going on there. I know that specifically because this hotel development overlay thing I've been doing. So I think there needs to be discussion about who's got what lane, and I think if elected, I can help broker that conversation and figure it out so both the NPC and the city can work better together and separately.
Roshida Edwards.
Yes, so I believe that the MPC is doing a great job. It's one of the only successful mergers that we actually have with the county. I do wish that our residents were more informed of MPC and what they do, but the one thing that I am concerned about is the overrides that happen on council as it pertains to MPC. Thank you.
Curtis Anthony Lord. Okay, let me get this straight here. These old eyes are really doing a trick on me. Curtis Singleton, sorry, sir.
So much. And Metropolitan Planning Commission, they have some good people on that board, and they have some good individuals that know what they're doing, and they're professional, and I support the Metropolitan Planning Commission and what they've done because they're looking forward. They're always looking forward with Savannah and attempting to manage the growth. Once this convention center is finished, it will be double the current size that it is now, and we need the Metropolitan Plan.
Now, Marc Anthony Smith.
Thank you. The Metropolitan Planning Commission has done an excellent job over the years. Now it's time to look towards the future. We hopefully the city, along with not only PC, but the entire county come together as we try to manage this growth with the Meta plan behind that.
Thank you. All right, candidates, we're moving on to the next question. Clinton Young, you're up with 1 minute to begin this topic. Permitting processes with the city.
Once again.
Permitting processes with the city.
Permitting process with the city should be transparent. The end of cronyism, nepotism, and we'll settle it like that. I'm for transparency all the way around.
Carol Bell, we'll begin with you now. These are the 30-second rebuttals from our candidates. You're first.
Having also worked as a city employee, I can say that permitting processes in the city of Savannah could still stand to be improved. There are instances where inspectors don't always, per the developers and per the builders, don't always work in a timely fashion in getting responses as building processes take place. So I think that's an area where we could actually
Jason Leslie Combs.
Carol, I think I'll finish that for you because you're exactly correct. And I was going to say half of what I've done as a neighborhood president, but actually it's probably more like 80% of what I've done as a neighborhood president is to help these new businesses in Starland get open and jump over the hurdles of the various permitting they need to do. Because one of the great things about Starland is most of these businesses are these people's first business. So they're doing this for the first time. They don't get all these steps they've got to go through. And we need an expediter in the government to help them. It shouldn't always have to be the neighborhood president.
Roshida Edwards.
Well, this is a topic of, and it's the gateway of why I'm standing in front of you. During the opening of my business, I had an experience with the city of Savannah and how it operates as far as permitting is concerned. And I was extremely disappointed. One thing that I do want to do is be a part of creating policies that's fair for all citizens and getting rid of the buddy-buddy system.
Curtis Singleton.
Flexibility independence, collaboration, knowledge, and transparency. That's what we need in the permit.
Marc Anthony Smith.
Yes, the permitting process needs to be streamlined. I've heard them talking about businesses, but residents run through the same gamut in trying to restore their properties, trying to get those permits. It's a very difficult process that we definitely need to streamline. Thank you.
And Tony Thomas.
Hearing from many businesses that wanted to locate here and some that did, our permitting process is one of the worst and most negative impressions that they get of the city when they come here trying to do business and set up business. We need to become more business friendly. We need to be flexible. We need to be transparent. But we also need to listen to the communities that surround these businesses to make sure that we're not infringing on their rights of quiet enjoyment of the properties that they have already.
Okay, we've made it, I guess, halfway now. We're circling back for our next topic, and Carol Bell, we will begin with you. You'll have 1 minute for this topic. Business development on the south side of Savannah.
Business development on the south side of Savannah. We welcome, I would be very supportive of trying to promote and trying to support business development in any area of the city, particularly on the south side, because there have been some challenges with the closing of, almost the closing of Savannah Mall. So as a member of council, I would be very supportive in trying to make sure that we employ business-friendly policies to make sure that we can open more businesses on the south side.
And now, candidates, your 30-second rebuttals. We'll begin with you, Jason Leslie Combs.
I would encourage everyone to Google the Congress for the New Urbanism Legacy Plan for the Savannah Mall on the south side. Tony Thomas can talk more about this. He was part of the process where they had their convention here. It shows how that entire area could be turned basically into a second downtown with tons of housing, tons of new business. And one way we can see that is by taking that office building that the city wants to put on the Civic Center property and putting it down there instead and helping to seed that new commercial area. And that will also take development pressure and traffic pressure off downtown.
What are your thoughts, Roshida Edwards?
Well, speaking with some of the residents from the 6th District, a lot of them feel that the area is starting to decline as it pertains to small businesses or businesses in general. So I definitely support the welcoming of newer businesses in that area and helping to grow that area.
And Curtis Singleton?
Entrepreneurship and business development is probably an avenue toward the middle class for many. And as secretary on the J.C. Lewis Health Center Board of Directors, which we are located on Bond Street, we've moved out to the Mall Boulevard, to the Mall Annex, and that's because that's where everyone is moving, and that's where you can move. You can't move downtown.
Marc Anthony Smith?
Agree that developing businesses on the south side is the way to go. I do concur that it would help with the congestion in downtown Savannah and pulling a lot of the focus off downtown to the south side and eliminating some of the parking issues that we see downtown. Thank you.
Tony Thomas?
First of all, we have to define what the south side is. In my opinion, the south side is the Wren Avenue South. And there is a disconnect in this city currently of the properties that lie south of the Wren versus north of the Wren. And it's as easy as looking at the median in the middle of Abercorn to see. I agree that Congress and New Urbanism was a great plan. This city should have followed it. They didn't. I hope they'll go back and review it at some point in the future.
Clinton Young?
Yes. The day of the mall is dead, and it started in the last 15 years with the renovation and the revitalization of Broaden Street. I believe that we should bring industries there that will become original equipment manufacturing. The mall and retail is dead. You look at that Savannah Mall, you look at the movie theater, gone. They're gone. So we need to be very wise with the zoning for the business, that there be production and not retail. We need production.
Our next topic, gentrification. And Jason Leslie Combs, we will begin with you. You have up to 1 minute.
I think you almost planned that because Of all the people on this stage, I'm pretty confident in saying I'm the only one who's actually been published in a peer-reviewed academic journal on the subject of gentrification. And not just gentrification, but how to mitigate it. And I won't go into all the nerdy details of that paper, but basically my point was, one that I've said several times before, is that to mitigate gentrification, which is basically people coming into an underserved area who have more money and displacing the people who are there, you've got to have development somewhere else. You've got to give them a place to go. You can't just stop growth. So you've got to have growth that comes along with more housing, more businesses to help disperse the development pressures. And again, that's why over and over I want to talk about more dense development, more development within our footprint, more housing. And that is the best way to mitigate gentrification, is to give housing to the people coming in, so those that are here are not displaced. Or if they are displaced, hopefully they have somewhere close by they can go.
Candidates, now your 30-second rebuttals. Roshida Edwards, we begin with you.
This topic is the #1 fear of our current residents. Residents in low poverty areas are feeling like they're being pushed out of their homes. And again, this is an issue. We need to be discussing the 9,000 affordable housing units that we need before we continuously allow major companies and large entities to come into our neighborhoods and push our current residents out.
And Curtis Singleton.
Gentrification is not a silo issue in Savannah. However, it does target businesses. It targets inexpensive land for development. And I have many businesses in the Starland District. Only 2 or 3 African American businesses are currently remaining in the Starland District due to gentrification.
Marc Anthony Smith, your thoughts?
Yes, this is an issue that's close to my best. In '73, my parents moved to 41st Street. The for sale sign went down. For sale signs went up. We experienced white flight. Today, we're experiencing what I call urban renewal, Negro removal of residents who lived here for many years and want to be stakeholders in this city, but they're being pushed out. Thank you.
And Tony Thomas, your thoughts?
In many ways, gentrification is driven by market conditions, and one of the biggest problems that we have here in Savannah is that there's a lot of plans that are made that don't include all the people that are there. You can see this playing itself out right now with the Canal District, and you can see what's going to happen over there over the next 5-10 years. It's unfortunate because it's not the way it should be, and it's not the way government should effectively work with its citizens to bring growth to any area.
Clinton Young?
Gentrification. You should fear gentrification. And I fear for those people from Yamacraw, in my old neighborhood of Fraser Home, Raphael Warnock's neighborhood of Hayden Home, and on down the corridor. They are moving us out. And there's no remedy. Look like no remedy in view. Where are these people going to come back to? Where they're going to stay in the meantime and between time? It's real.
And Carol Bell, what are your thoughts?
I think it's very important that the city accept the responsibility of reducing gentrification to the greatest extent possible by making sure we provide, continue to provide workforce housing, affordable housing for individuals who are coming into, individuals who are perhaps being forced out by development.
Candidates, thank you. We are moving on to the next topic now. We begin with Roshida Edwards. You have up to 1 minute to have your say on this topic. Transparency of government.
Transparency of government. Living in the city of Savannah for the past 39 years and being a business owner of a brick and mortar business for the past year, I found out that we do not operate that way. I'm thankful for some of our council members that have stepped up and decided to open doors to show us what is truly happening at City Hall. I experienced myself just how our city operates, and it's not transparent, it's not fair. We have 2020 during COVID opened the doors for so many entrepreneurs. People that had skills decided to branch out and open businesses, and we found out that through the permitting process with not only myself but other small businesses, that our city just doesn't give us all the details and the truths that need to be given to the citizens. So currently I feel that we should definitely be looking for being more transparent and having a more honest council.
Thank you. And candidates, now it's time for your 30-second rebuttals. We'll begin with you, Mr. Curtis Singleton.
There is such a thing called an open records request, and that is how you get information out of government. And that's what provides transparency. And we have to educate citizens, educate individuals, and give them the tools to get the information they need for transparency.
And now, Marc Anthony Smith, what are your thoughts?
Transparency is very important. One statement I always hear people saying, this is going to benefit the residents of Savannah, Georgia. Show me how it's going to benefit. We had the Rock and Roll Marathon. How does it benefit the entire city? Thank you.
Tony Thomas, your thoughts now?
A lot of, I agree with the transparency of local government, but I think another word needs to be hooked with it, and it's accuracy. You need to make sure that the information that you're getting is accurate. And I think that with our open records laws that are on the book, it's not operating the way it should. I know that it's very difficult at times to get information from the city, and sometimes you have to wade through it and wonder if it's accurate or not, or if it's just one layer that they gave you and not another layer that you need.
Clinton Young, we'll hear from you now.
I believe we should take from the late Senator Orrin Hatch and the Hatch Act, open transparency, the elimination of, as I stated earlier, cronyism, nepotism, especially on these large contracts.
And Carol Bell, what are your thoughts?
I think transparency in government relates to informing and educating our citizens, especially regarding how to apply for and receive information from the city, particularly utilizing the Open Records Act and getting the information that you want.
And we end this topic with you, Jason Leslie Combs, and your rebuttal.
Transparency is obviously essential to government functioning and keeping everybody in line and honest. What's also important is representation. And I can say, as having been a neighborhood president and being involved in my neighborhood group, it's been essential in getting what we need done in Thomas Square. And unfortunately, we've got too many neighborhoods in Savannah that don't have active neighborhood groups. And if I'm elected to city council, I'll make it my mission to go around and make sure we have active neighborhood groups for all those areas that are not represented by their own right now.
All right, our next topic. We'll begin with Curtis Singleton. This topic, the existing Civic Center and the Johnny Mercer Theater. You have 1 minute, sir.
Did I mention the parking space? And thank you so much. The Civic Center is outdated. It's not functional for disabled people. You can't walk up the stairs because it doesn't have rails. So I believe that the Civic Center itself is outdated. The Johnny Mercer Theater, I'm all in favor of maintaining that. But with the new courthouse facility, I believe parking is the issue, not holding on to a building that's pretty much doesn't conform to current disabled requirements by the federal government. And it would take such a large amount of money to modify it and improve it. I think that parking is the issue instead of a civic center in that location, especially with the Trade Center, with the International Convention Center and the Marc Center, Marc Arena.
Remaining candidates, time for you to share your thoughts in 30 seconds. We'll begin with you, Mr. Marc Anthony Smith.
I think the Civic Center should be maintained. We don't have any. We have this new arena, but it doesn't lend to people being able to rent it out as necessary. The whole arena, Civic Center, we went at it wrong. And to try to put parking deck there would add more problems than what it's worth.
And Mr. Tony Thomas, what are your thoughts?
There's a plan when we built the Savannah Cultural Arts Center. There was a plan also to incorporate the Johnny Mercer Theater as a component of that. I'm firmly in support of that. I do think the arena has lived its life, but one of the great opportunities for preservation in the community was to bring back one of the original squares that Oglethorpe had laid out that the Civic Center took away when it was developed. And I think we should go back, take that off the shelf, and look at it again.
Mr. Young?
As I stated earlier, tear it down. We need parking. I know you're fond of the Martin Luther King Arena. I know we're fond of the homeboy Johnny Mercer. Let's name it the King Mercer Parking Facilities.
Ms. Bell, let us hear your thoughts now.
I favor tearing down the Johnny Mercer because we do have the arena, and we also will have the extended convention center over here. But I do think we should keep the Johnny Mercer because there are uses that that we could actually we could use the Johnny Mercer for arts organizations and other uses by other smaller organizations in the community.
Jason Leslie Combs, what do you think?
All right, I gotta be quick here. This is one of my big ideas. We scrape it clean. We recut the blocks to the Oglethorpe plan. Most people don't know, but the landmark designation was given to the plan, not the buildings of downtown Savannah. If you want to preserve that landmark designation, recut the plan. And then we use it. We don't sell it. We keep it and ground lease it for affordable housing. You can guarantee perpetual affordable housing there by keeping the land and ground leasing it to developers. And put that government building on the south side, like I said, not downtown.
All right, Roshida Edwards, you're up.
This is the topic that I actually kind of straddled the fence with. On one hand, I would be in favor of tearing down the arena and looking at restoring the squares. But on the other hand, using the facility as an indoor sporting facility for our youth is something else that is kind of near and dear to my heart. Currently, our children have no facilities that they can participate with year-round sports. So using the arena and certain areas of the facility for indoor sporting events year-round, again, I kind of straddled the fence with that.
All right, the next topic. We will begin with Marc Anthony Smith. You'll have 1 minute, sir, to answer this or share your thoughts on the topic. It is T-SPLOST.
T-SPLOST is good and it's bad. Once the penny tax, we've been hearing that for, I guess, last 15, 20 years. The problem with it is how do we equitably divide that T-SPLOST? Just recently with the county, they decided to take a bigger bite out of the municipality's cut, and we're having problems with that. But as the gentleman just said earlier, to get around all of this, we need to consolidate. Thank you.
Now, candidates, you have your 30-second rebuttals on T-SPLOST, and we will begin with you, Tony Thomas.
I'm in support of T-SPLOST if the citizens vote and that's what they want. But I do think that one of the things that we need to do with T-SPLOST is go to the neighborhoods and find out what they want. So much of the T-SPLOST fight in the past was done on a bigger scale. It was done regionally. It didn't even get into neighborhoods and talking about traffic calming and different things like that. And all of that could be incorporated in T-SPLOST. We can't afford to fix this infrastructure.
Clinton Young, what are your thoughts?
I believe you should put it on a referendum. I'm not really in favor of taxes. We're having a hard time with the education smash and a special local option sales tax. I'm a firm believer that with those taxes, what they missed out on was addressing the poverty and homelessness. In a rich economy like we are living in, we should have a glean process. It should be 10% allocated from both of those splashes for poverty and homelessness.
Okay, Carol Bell, we are up with you now and your thoughts.
I personally favor T-SPLOST, but I do agree that it's the voice of the people that should rule. I think in the last vote, the majority of the citizens in the city of Savannah favored T-SPLOST because there's much needed work that can be done on our transportation grid.
Mr. Jason Leslie Combs, your thoughts?
I think people voted against T-SPLOST for a lot of different reasons, but the reason I voted against it was because if you looked at that list, it was for a bunch of West Chatham sprawl enabling projects, which shows you if you need that extra penny to fund it, it's not paying for itself. It's an inefficient development pattern. Once again, I will say we need to be doing our growth and development within our existing footprint and not sprawling outward like Atlanta.
Roshida Edwards, what do you think?
Until we can fairly figure out how to divide T-SPLOST funds, I am not in support of T-SPLOST.
And Mr. Singleton.
Where T-SPLOS has been approved is where MARTA gets a penny for transportation in Atlanta. Where we're looking at T-SPLOS, then we need to address the spatial distance between housing and jobs. And right now, T-SPLOS doesn't address getting people in Savannah to the jobs that are located at the Hyundai plant, at the airport, et cetera.
Candidates, thank you. We are moving on now to the next topic. Tony Thomas, we will begin with you. You will have up to 1 minute to share your thoughts on relationships between other governmental entities, Chatham County Board of Education.
Well, I think that is critical. If we want to improve this community as a whole, we need to have a good relationship with the county and with the school board. One of the things that I've seen over the years, and it shouldn't be happening, but county lives in their world, and the city lives in our world, and yet we're a part of the county. There's not a lot of collaboration and cooperation between these entities, and they need to come together and work more effectively together because they impact all of the citizens of the community. And then when you talk about the schools, we build these wonderful big schools all over this county with the tax dollars that we elected ourselves on. And I will tell you, we don't use them, and we don't use them like they could be. Why not use them after hours for programs to get these kids off the street and give them opportunities to enhance and improve their lives and themselves? Use it for adult learning. Use it for other things.
Thank you. And candidates, now it's time for your rebuttals. Clinton Young, you're first.
I totally agree with that. I believe that the city and the Board of Education can collaborate with the Georgia Quick Start program that would have a ready workforce for these jobs coming from Hyundai and all the accompanying supporting cast. Back in the days, we had technical education, shop, home economics. We should be making sure we have a ready workforce for the kids living in Savannah.
We will move on now. Carol Bell, what are your thoughts?
Not only do I agree with the city collaborating with the Board of Education, the county, and other governments, but I also believe that firmly in working together works. I also believe that we should collaborate with the private sector as well and replicate programs such as Summer 500, that was one of the largest public-private partnerships the city has ever participated in.
Mr. Combs.
Collaboration, of course, is a must when you're working on projects that run across boundaries. But I did want to talk about one thing that's been mentioned here before, and that's consolidation. I do think that needs to be looked at again. Savannah is kind of an outlier in Georgia in not being consolidated, because most large cities that aren't Atlanta are. Columbus, Macon, Augusta, even Athens. And I think we need to bring that up again. It will increase efficiency and make planning better, especially with Chatham area transit.
And Roshida Edwards, what are you thinking?
Our children we've failed our children, and they're struggling because of our lack of joining forces with the Board of Education and working together. So I'm fully in support of coming to the table and talking about the serious issues that are before us as it pertains to our children.
Curtis Singleton.
Savannah Mediation Center, of which I'm the president of the board, has been under the leadership of the executive director, heavily involved in the school system with peer mediation, conflict resolution, Title IX. So we have a heavy presence in the school system, and I believe that for leaders, you can't do what we do and expect children to do what they do differently than what we do.
Mr. Smith, your thoughts?
Yes, ma'am. On relationships, not only with the county, the Board of Education, we need to also formulate relationships not only with the private sector, but our nonprofit sectors as well, to include the churches, to bring them on board, because they have facilities as well that we could probably access for our kids to use. Thank you.
Candidates, thank you. We have reached a point where we are coming to our last topic of the afternoon. And this one will begin with Clinton Young. You will have up to 1 minute, sir, to answer this or share your thoughts on this topic. Alcohol licensing businesses.
Well, I think it should be fair across the board. But personally, I don't drink, okay? I don't drink. And you have a lot of communities do not want alcohol in their neighborhoods. And I think you should respect that. And I digress.
Moving on now, candidates, your thoughts in 30 seconds. Carol Bell, we'll start with you.
On alcohol licensing, I think it's very important for the city to continue to work with the district aldermen and the neighborhoods regarding the desires of the neighborhood and make sure that the businesses desiring license in that neighborhood work with the community.
Mr. Combs?
I think this is real easy. It should be a staff issue. We shouldn't have all this rigmarole about alcohol licenses. I think we need to pay a little more attention to what kind of use is it. Is it a restaurant? Is it a bar? Is it a club? And we need to be better about taking them away when there's bad actors. If we take them away better, then we have to worry about painting them out easier.
Ms. Edwards?
I would actually like to see our city catch up to the rest of the state. We are one of the only cities that actually allow council to make the decision on alcohol license approvals. Everyone else has an alcohol independent review board. So again, I would like to see us catch up to that. That way we can keep this process fair and depoliticize the process. Thank you.
Mr. Singleton, your thoughts?
Alcohol licenses have a disparate impact on different communities. And I do believe that we need to really look at how not so much the licensing process, but how communities are affected by the licensing process. Because Savannah is a planned community, and we need to keep it that way and not allow the alcohol license to overshadow or imbalance the community.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for this last question. Alcohol license is a big moneymaker for some people in this community, but once again, as the rest of the candidates have alluded to, we need to look at the impact not only in the entire city, but in the different neighborhoods. I know several neighborhoods that I've been attending to, they don't want alcohol establishments in their neighborhoods for good reasons. So we need to really look at this issue hard.
Mr. Thomas?
The issuance of an alcohol license in the city of Savannah is a privilege, not a right. And that privilege is granted by the city council. The city council should perhaps, in the city, should craft an ordinance that requires the leaders to go through a more exhaustive process currently than what we have, doing outreach to neighborhoods. With that being said, we cannot allow one person to have a monopoly selling beer and wine and alcohol in a neighborhood versus others.
Candidates, thank you. We have reached a point in our forum where we will now have our closing remarks from all of you, and we'll begin, as we did at the top of the forum, in alphabetical order. You will each get up to 1 minute, or we'll be specific, 1 minute to share your closing remarks here today. Ms. Bell, we will start with you.
If you believe that citizens deserve to be free from crime and safe through a consistently fully staffed police department and a well-trained police department, if you believe that every citizen deserves the right to work and pursue his or her version of the American dream, and if you believe that everyone needs a roof over their head, then I urge you to vote for me, Carol Bell, as Post 1 Alderman.
Thank you. Jason Leslie Combs.
I think from my answers, you can all kind of see what I'm about. As I've said, I have master's degrees in city planning and urban design. I would like to help Savannah properly direct the growth and change that are coming. A lot of people don't know, but between 2010 and 2020, Savannah was the fastest growing metro area in the state of Georgia, and that will probably continue for the next decade on steroids with the Hyundai plant coming. And also one thing that's not discussed enough is all the work from home people that discovered Savannah over COVID. We've got all kinds of people coming in, and there will be displacement and gentrification. This isn't looked at with a fine-tooth comb, and we figure out where to put the new people and where to put the people that might unfortunately be displaced. And hopefully it won't be displaced much. So if you vote me on council, you're not only getting a council member, you're getting a city planner and an urban designer for the low, low price of $25,000. So vote for me. Thank you.
Ms. Edwards.
Savannah has made a turn towards the future. And I feel that we need a post-1 representative that can grow and turn with what we've already done. I feel that I'm the best candidate for the job. And I feel that we can respect our past without going back to it. With that being said, I would love if you would support me for your next Alderwoman at Large Post 1 here in Savannah. Thank you.
Mr. Singleton.
My name is Curtis Singleton, Alderman at Large candidate for Post 1. We've talked here today about Savannah, and I'm a generational citizen of Savannah. And education is what has paved the way for me to be here today. And I believe that education is the tool that we really have to lean into if we're going to preserve the Savannah that we know. When this convention center is completed, I looked at the plans. The maximum capacity will be 100,000 people. That's more people in Athens on a Saturday afternoon. And some of those people will stay here. Many will stay. So I'm not interested in Savannah becoming a gated Beverly Hills because we live here. And I'm not interested in Savannah becoming like the Bahamas, where the local citizenry can't go to the casino.
Thank you, sir. Up next, Marc Anthony Smith.
Once again, I want to thank the Tourism Council, Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Association for hosting this event today. I am a candidate for the Alderman at Large Post 1. My website is marcanthonysmith.com. In Romans, it says that we should train our children and they will not depart from that training. My dad and my mom were a part of that. My dad had a cleaning service for over 40 years and trained up a lot of people who are serving in this community. My mom has taught piano lessons for over 50 years. WSAV, WTOC, she wakes up to two anchors that she personally taught. So I think the important thing here is that we need to have Bill of Rights for our communities, our neighborhoods. We need to ensure that the streets are fixed, that they have adequate medical, and eliminate food deserts. Thank you.
Tony Thomas.
I think all of you could agree that we have one of the most beautiful cities in the state of Georgia and in the world. Anywhere I've ever traveled, I've always told people when I'm from Savannah, the first thing they say, God, I love that place. I wish I can go back there one day. I think that what other people coming inside our community see is sometimes different from what we that live inside the community see. And I think that what we have to do is to realize that change is not a bad thing, growth is not a bad thing, and you've got to have that in order to lay the groundstone for the next generation and for the next city. A 1733 plan is wonderful and beautiful, but in order to preserve it, it's going to take people and guardians that guard it, but also will look to the future. I believe that I can work with folks in order to bring about that change that we need in the community, and I look forward to doing it.
Clinton Young.
Ladies and gentlemen, got 47 days before you make your selection. This is the 290th year of this great city. And on November the 7th, you will put in the 140th administration of this great city. Ask for your help. Ask for your hands. Ask for your voice. And in return, I'll be a champion for the people. Not one segment, but all segments. Grandparents, parents, and children. You all deserve to be safe. As we move through the mid-20s and on into the latter 20s, let this 140th administration address homelessness, the reduction in crime, education, as a joint, unified solidarity. I'm Clinton Young, and I promise to be a champion for all people So help me Most High God.
Ladies and gentlemen, those watching on WSCV.com, and to all of you here, our live audience, our candidates for Alderman at Large, Post 1, Carol Bell, Jason Leslie Combs, Roshida Edwards, Curtis Singleton, Marc Anthony Smith, Tony Thomas, and Clinton Young. Let's give all of them a round of applause. We want to thank you on behalf of the Tourism Leadership Council, Savannah Area Chamber of Commerce, the Savannah Downtown Business Association, and WSAV News 3 on your side. We thank everyone for joining us today. You've heard from these candidates. You know where they stand on some issues that are very important to you. Now it is important to you, the voters, to have your voices heard. We want to make sure you remember to register if you have not already and vote on November 7th in the Savannah municipal election. I'm WSAV's Tina Tyus-Shaw. I want to thank you for being here again, and to all of our candidates. We appreciate you. Everyone have a great rest of the day.